Hello students, today we are going to do the next part of the chapter Ratio and Proportion for class 7. Today we will be learning about proportion. If you have seen my first video, I am very sure you have understood the concept of ratio. If you haven't watched it, please watch it and understand the concept of ratio. So let us begin with proportion. An equality of two ratios is called proportion. Suppose I have a ratio A is to B which is equal to another ratio C is to D, then I can say that they are in proportion if A by B is equal to C by D. That is, A into D, I am cross multiplying, is equal to C into D. So I can represent the proportion by a double colon sign. So it becomes A is to B is proportional to C is to D. Now there are four terms as you can see here. These are all the terms. So like first term is A, second term is B, C is the third term, D is the fourth term. So when I talk about the extreme, the two corners as you can see, they are called the extreme. So here A and D are forming the extreme terms of this ratio. They are the extremes. And the two in the middle are the means or the middle terms. So A and D are the extremes or the extreme terms, and B and C are the means or the middle term. So if I say that A is to B equal to C is to D, then D is a fourth proportional, right? And A by B equal to C by D, that is AD equal to BC. So when the result, if you see AD, they are the extremes, and BC, they are the means. So I can say that the product of the extreme is equal to the product of the mean. This is the cross product rule. And if they are not equal, if this value is not equal, then they are not in proportion. So if you have understood the normal concept of proportion, you will be able to solve questions and check whether ratios are in proportion or not. Before I start solving the exercise questions and give you some examples of proportion, I want to explain you another term that is related to your chapter, that is continued proportion. Now when do I call the quantities or the numbers as continued proportions? Three quantities A, B and C are said to be in continued proportion if A is to B equal to B is to C. So here if you see, if I cross multiply, it is A by B by C, and if I cross multiply, I am going to get B squared equal to AC. So here the product of the means, that is B squared, here B is common, equal to the product of the extremes, that is A and C. So B squared equal to AC. So in this, if A, B, C are in a continued proportion, then the middle term is B, that is called the mean proportion between A and C, and here A is the first proportional and C is the third proportional and B is the mean proportional. So now after understanding this concept of continued proportion, let us move to solving some questions. Now I have two questions in front of me. It is asking me to check whether 18, 10, 9, 5 are in proportion or not. So we have to simply check whether they are in proportion. You know the concept. Now these are the two extremes, these are the two means. So let us use the theory that 18 by 10 is it equal to 9 by 5, assuming that all these are in proportion. Suppose this is a question and I have to prove that they are in proportion or not. So when I write 18 by 10 equal to 9 by 5 and do a crisscross multiplication, I am going to get 18 into 5, 90, and 9 into 10 equal to 90. So as both the values are equal, yes, they are in proportion. So here you are going to prove that the values are same after cross multiplying according to the proportion rule. A into D is equal to B into C. So we have proved that here and we have got the same value, so we can say that the numbers are in proportion. Now in the following question, generally when there is a fraction, students get confused. So please don't be confused. We have to just solve it like the previous question. Before that, I am making it into fraction and converting into the improper fraction, that is 3 into 2, 6 plus 1, 7, 4 colon is to 9 by 2. Now what am I going to multiply? 3 into 9 by 2, and that is 27 by 2, product of the extreme, and the product of the mean, that is 7 by 2 into 4. Are we getting the same result? No. As the values are not same, AD is not equal to BC, they are not in proportion. After solving it, I do not get the values are same. Obviously 27 by 2 is not going to give me 14. It will give me answer in a decimal. And they are not same. So this fraction or this terms, these elements are not in proportion. Now in this question, it is asking us to find the value of x. Here they are already showing that these terms are in proportion. So we have to simply multiply the value of the extremes and get the answer. So when I multiply these two, as there are 2 points here, this value is going to come here 1.80. So I have a decimal here. So I get a point here 0.95, and I finally get the answer as 4.5. So there is a decimal, 2 decimals are there, so I get 1.80. So that is equal to 1.8 equal to 0.4x, and I divide, because this is multiplied here, I bring it here and divide it and get the value of x. Now in the next question, we have to find the proportion, fourth proportional to this given question. So here 3 proportions are already given and the fourth proportion. So let the fourth proportional be x. When the fourth proportional is x, I can simply write it in the proportional format like this, which implies that 3 by 12 is equal to 15 by x. So you know product of the extreme is equal to product of the mean. To get x, this 3 is going to come down and I am going to reduce it. So as all these proportions are in kg, so my x value will also be in kg. Simple logic of product of extreme is equal to product of mean. Now my next question is find the third proportional to 36, 18. So you might be thinking that we have only 2 numbers, how to get the third proportional? So if you remember the continued proportional concept, you know that 36 is to 18, proportional to 18 is to x. So third proportional here is x. What is the third proportional? The third proportional is x here. So we have to repeat the second term 2 times. And you know that 18 into 18 will be equal to 36 into x. Why? Product of extreme is equal to product of means. So to get x, I have to divide this number by 36. And you can cancel it. So my value of x is equal to 9. If you have been given 2 terms, you can get the third proportional by taking it x and repeating the second term. This is in continued proportion. Moving to the next question. The ratio between the length and width of a rectangular sheet is 7:5. If the width of the sheet is 20.5 centimeter, find the length. So we'll solve it based on the concept of proportionality or the proportion that we have been reading. So let us write that length is 7 and breadth or the width is 5. And the actual value of width is 20.5 centimeter. We have to get the actual length. Now you know that if I am writing the ratio 7:5, that means the length is to width. So I don't know the length. Let me assume the length to be x. So when I write the proportion, I have to write x is to 20.5. I have to be very careful about the positioning of x. Now we have to calculate the length. So that is taken as x, and as I am writing first quantity 7 as a length, I have to also write first quantity x. I can't write 20.5 is to x. The position is very important. This means that 7 by 5 is equal to x by 20.5. So to get the value of x, I am going to bring this 20.5 above and divide by 5. So 5 ones are and 5 4.1, that is multiplied to get 28.7 centimeter. So the actual length is 28.7 centimeter. This working you have to show in the main part. So what have I done? I have made it in proportion form. We are having the ratio, and whatever is given to us, we have to write it in the proper form in proportion so that we get the answer. If you do this 20.5 in the first part and take x to the second part, and here it is length by width and here width by length, then it is not in proportion. So see that you compare the similar terms and get the answer. With this, I am sure you have got a hang of how to solve the proportion questions in your book. Also, please let me know in the comment section if you were able to understand it, and are you able to solve the questions based on the proportion part of your chapter. Thank you for watching.